I'm Tony Perkins, and this is More Than a Game, the podcast that takes you beyond the box score and tells the Arizona sports stories you've never heard. On this episode, we head to the Rodeo, learning about the sport from its roots to the modern college level. Then, the end of an era in Las Vegas.
His geek can ride. Let's help him out. Come on, you can do it, Slade. Oh.
No one ever said rodeo was easy. And a trip to Tucson's college rodeo shows it's the truth. This is the weekend after Tucson's legendary rodeo days. Once La Fiesta de los Vaqueros is over, and the professionals have moved off the grounds, the old stadium switches gears to a celebration of college rodeo. University of Arizona freshman Jordan Carlson is taking part in it for the first time. She's going after a degree in agriculture business, but she's also a barrel racer from Mesa, who's grown up around the rodeo circuit.
It's pretty good. You know, I've made a lot of friends, and it's fun getting to see all the new places that I haven't gone before just because it's a different circuit.
The U of A's annual college rodeo has been around for 85 years, starting just 13 years after the Tucson rodeo was established in 1925. Now it is part of the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association's Grand Canyon Circuit, a league that includes Cochise College, Central Arizona College, Mesalands Community College, and New Mexico State University. The NIRA has been around since 1949 and runs events at rodeo grounds all over the West. This year, the circuit has grown to stage events in the Deep South, at places like Murray State University in Kentucky and the University of Tennessee at Martin. Rodeo is a club sport on the collegiate level, and it's one that hardly anyone hears about. But it's produced some of rodeo's all-time great professionals, riders like Ty Murray, an Arizonan who climbed to fame atop some of the toughest bulls in rodeo, and Dan Mortensen, a six-time world champion saddle bronc rider.
Championship, Dan Mortensen. Well, and here's a guy that can break Robert F. Bauer's streak of the most points on all 10 finals.
Just as in stick and ball sports, the top athletes in rodeo advance to the highest competitive ranking, and the trip up the ladder can be filled with bumps and bruises.
I think if you had to pick one horse to do this on,
Jordan Carlson, the U of A freshman, recognizes the potential for a painful path.
I think we take the risk because we love what we do. So, I mean, the good outweighs the bad.
College rodeo brings individuals together as a team, as most sports do. But it also brings an extra element. Participants are keenly aware of the animals who are athletes in their own right. The horses, bulls, calves, even lambs are part of the action in rodeo. And the human teammates must keep them healthy too. Carlson notes this is part of the activity that pulls everyone together.
We're all pretty close, you know, and just being there for each other, whether it's holding your horse or we get to haul together. Some of us haul together, so it's a lot of fun, you know, when you're going 10, 12 hours to a rodeo.
While big events like Pro Rodeo's national finals are performed in front of a packed stadium and big television audience, the college rodeo circuit sometimes takes place only in front of family and friends, at least for now. The National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association stresses the preservation of Western heritage alongside its role of developing collegiate athletes. As the energy and enthusiasm for the sport grows, the organization says college rodeo has yet to reach its peak. Jordan Carlson believes the University of Arizona can be at the front of the line.
I think it's good that we're out here and we're showing the rest of the community what rodeo really is and how it really can impact us. And we're working right now to really grow the University of Arizona. We have a new coach, Charlie Buchanan, and so we're super excited for that.
It's a dust and mud, it's a roar of a Sunday crowd. It's the white and the knuckles, the gold in the buckle, he'll win the next go round. It's boots and chaps, it's cowboy hats.
country musician Garth Brooks sang, "It's the ropes and the reins, and the joy and the pain."
Call the thing a rodeo.
Saddle up. Joining me now with another rodeo story is more than a game producer, Zach Ziegler. Zach, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here, Tony.
So we just heard my story about rodeo at the collegiate level and the University of Arizona team. Now you're going to take us to a rodeo rivalry that has its roots about the same time the U of A was founded.
Yeah, that's right. So you mentioned in that piece, Tony, La Fiesta de los Vaqueros. It's time for a little trivia. Do you know how old that rodeo is?
I'm guessing around 100 years. I'm not really sure, but I think 100 would be a pretty good choice.
By the Price is Right standards, you nailed it right on. This was its 99th year this year, so good guess on your part.
Well, yeah, when you're talking about 100, you're talking about close to the territorial days in Arizona.
La Fiesta de los Vaqueros is one of the older ones, that's for sure. But there are two in the state that go back to the 1880s. And we're going to talk a bit about why hazy record keeping from that era has turned into what is basically a good-natured rivalry between them. So let's start with the one that has trademarked the name World's Oldest Rodeo. Or rather, let's start with what happened when I walked into their office. So I was greeted by a cute Australian cattle dog who evidently frequently receives chew toys from visitors.
Hi, doggies. Hi. Oh, you want to sit there? Yeah.
My big fuzzy microphone was quickly mistaken for such an offering and was snatched out of my hand when I bent down to greet the dog.
That is single-handedly the best greeting I have ever had on an interview.
Luckily, no harm was done.
Giant dog toy.
It looks like it.
And I proceeded on to meet a fellow named Jim Dewey Brown.
Well, Prescott Frontier Days is what I like to kind of call the great-grandfather of professional rodeo as we know it, hence our title, World's Oldest Rodeo. Back in the day in 1888, a group of folks got together and had a contest and celebrated 4th of July weekend with the rodeo.
So Jim runs the rodeo, which draws tens of thousands of people to Prescott each year. He was very sure to mention that there's a reason they claim that title, World's Oldest Rodeo. It wasn't just cowboys getting together to blow off some steam back when things got started. It was an organized event.
There was a rodeo committee, invited contestants. They charged admission to the fans. They awarded cash and prizes, and then they documented the event. So that's where kind of these building blocks created rodeo as we know it.
Well, Zach, it sounds like a defense is being set up here for that title. I'm guessing there's a group that disputes that.
You're right. If you hop in your car from Jim's office and drive about 2 hours to the east, you'll find a group that calls itself the world's oldest continuous rodeo in Payson, which happens each year in August.
So the rodeo started in 1884, which was 3 years before Prescott started.
That's Sam White, president of the Pro Rodeo Committee.
And if you go to the Rodeo Hall of Fame, we're listed as number 5, and I believe, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe they're like number 7 as far as the oldest rodeo.
So Jim in Prescott says Frontier Days was the first time rodeo was professionalized, thus making it the first rodeo. But the folks in Payson base their claim on the fact that Prescott appears to have taken a year off during World War II, hence that word continuous.
So, is this rivalry friendly or a little more heated?
Well, today it's quite friendly. One of the gentlemen I talked to called it, pardon the salty cowboy talk here, a good-natured pissing match. That hasn't always been the case, though. There used to be some tension between the two bodies. Bill Armstrong, who's been the Payson rodeo boss for about 50 years, said he was once served legal papers over a name issue while at the rodeo. though that might have also been from another case involving Ringling Brothers over Payson Rodeo's use of the tagline, "The Greatest Show on Dirt." I did a search of both federal and state civil cases, and I couldn't find a lawsuit or anything between the two rodeos. And as the world of rodeo shrinks, it becomes more about camaraderie. So these two groups often attend each other's events. Dan really put it well.
No, the competition is between the animals and the contestants, and that's where the competition is. And all we do is try to put on a good rodeo, and we hope that everybody in the state, or all the rodeos, that's all they're striving for, is to put on the best rodeo that they can possibly put on.
They aren't too interested in the debate. They've got their talking points, and they're happy to talk about the sport more so.
Okay, now let's get to the sport itself. What are these events like?
Well, for both cities, they're one of the bigger events that gets hosted. Frontier Days brings in about 30,000 people each year and has been a big draw for decades for Prescott. A quick shameless plug, by the way, for another AZPM podcast, Tapped, that'll show you this. We started the most recent season of that show with a story about a dam collapse that happened south of Prescott in the 1880s. The family who ranches the land where the dam collapse happened, well, the first generation on that land was a couple who happened to meet at that rodeo. As for Payson, a study by Northern Arizona University in the early 2000s found it contributed about $1 million to the economy that year. Dan and Bill Armstrong say the event has grown since then, so it's probably even more notable now. Prescott, being the size it is, routinely draws in some top competitors, and Bill says so does Payson. And quick apologies, you'll hear me ask a question off mic. Bill's quite hard of hearing, and I forgot to turn down my microphone when I addressed questions to him, so the better audio is just what you hear on his microphone.
No, we take care of the cowboys. We cater to their every need, and we just make sure that they're taken care of 100%.
Yeah.
And we've got there's another 100 of us too that we use them all.
So what's taking care of a cowboy? What's that entail?
If they want to drink a whiskey, we get them a drink of whiskey. If they want a Coke, we get them a Coke. I know we have the VIP tent. We serve a pretty good lunch to them too, hot meals and stuff.
So he says there's also the prize. Instead of handing out a typical belt buckle or something along the lines of a trophy or a plaque, each winner gets custom-made engraved working spurs.
Thousands of rodeo attendees. Where do they come from?
Well, a lot of them come from Arizona and nearby states, but Jim says this is quite an international event.
So we had UK, France, Israel, South Africa, Switzerland, Ireland, Iceland, Turkey, Norway, Chile, Poland, Czech Republic, and then, of course, U.S. territory, Guam.
The gentlemen from Prescott agree, and you'll hear from one more of them here, John Landino.
They come from all the way across the pond.
Yeah.
Norway. Where were some of the other ones, John?
Norway,
Germany?
Finland, Germany, Italy, Australia. We get fans that come to take a vacation, and then they see that we have a rodeo going at the time, and they want to make it available for them to see that rodeo because they really enjoy the Wild West.
You know, the American West is so mythologized. Just think about places like Tombstone, where there are reenactments of gunfights. Rodeo for people from far away can be a bit of a living relic of that history, not just a reenactment.
Yeah, a living relic. But sports change over the years. We're going to have a story in a few weeks about people playing baseball by the rules from about the time these rodeos started. And it's a very different game. How has rodeo changed?
A lot of the old events are still there, Jim told me.
Obviously the big ones, saddle bronc riding, that was, of course, back in the day they used their stock saddles, with the horn and everything. But, tie down roping, which back then would have been called calf roping. steer roping, wild horse race. There was cow pony races. So there's definitely a lot of events that still happen today. Obviously bull riding, steer wrestling, they're newer. I wouldn't say they're new, but they're newer.
There was also team roping in those early days. There are some events that have gone away, at least at these rodeos. My favorite one that I heard about that was mentioned was something called wild cow milking, which is still done in some places, just not in Prescott or Payson. Obviously, those early rodeos didn't include women's events like barrel racing and Prescott's newest event, which is women's breakaway roping. I'm guessing they also didn't include one event that may explain a line from your story earlier here, Tony. Do you know why lambs and sheep are involved in the rodeo?
Well, I'm thinking lambs and sheep are in there because they want to make sure that all of the various disciplines are included, so to speak. Anything that's happening on the ranch can be happening in the rodeos.
Well, that may be the case, but I can tell you that one event that involves some of those animals is actually one of the more popular ones I heard from Bill when it comes to Payson's rodeo.
Believe it or not, it's probably the mutton busting, where the little kids ride the sheep. It's probably that everybody likes a mutton busting.
So for those who aren't in the know, mutton busting is an event for young children. I mean, sometimes we're talking as young as 4. They're outfitted, don't worry, with a lot of safety gear, sat on a sheep, and told to hold on for dear life as that sheep exits the chute. A big draw are the events where you hold on to a bucking animal as best you can, be it mutton busting for the little ones or bronc and bull riding for the adults. But the roping events can draw quite an audience as well, since these are quite competitions of skills. I mean, winning times often aren't more than a few seconds.
Well, thanks for the story, Zach, but we're not done with you just yet, are we?
No, Tony. To switch gears quite a bit here, last week I was in Las Vegas for the last Pac-12 basketball tournament that will include the University of Arizona Wildcats. Things did not end well for the men's team as they were eliminated in their second game against the eventual champs, the Oregon Ducks. So, to close this week's show, and in anticipation of the NCAA tournament getting underway in just a day here, something that I know excites both of us, since we're big basketball fans and we've traded some stories, I put together a little audio postcard from that event of what it sounds like to be at those games.
Yo, hello everyone and welcome to T-Mobile Arena. Welcome to Las Vegas. You know what? This is probably the most subdued you're going to see me today. And it's only because I have to mildly introduce a few things that are going to be happening throughout this day and throughout this game.
Let's go defense! Let's go defense! Let's go defense!
And I'm hanging out with the pride of Arizona Pep Band. I got Ruby here. Now, Ruby, we're about to play a game called Name That Tune.
Shooting the bonus.
And that's it for this episode of More Than a Game. Join us next time as we hear from fans about traveling to watch their team. The show is produced and mixed by Zach Ziegler. Our news director is Christopher Conover. Our logo was designed by A.C. Swedberg. Thanks to our marketing team for their help in launching this podcast. This show is part of the AZPM podcast family. You can find all of our podcasts, news, and video productions at azpm.org. I'm Tony Perkins. See you next time.
AZPM podcasts are made possible in part by donations from listeners like you. Learn more at support.azpm.org. Thank you.